Okay, so hello everyone. Last week I announced that we are starting our 8-part series on a digital marketing health check for your school. And today is the first part. So we will be looking at your website, your school's website. And because I feel that that is the most fundamental part of your digital marketing strategy, it's the foundational part of your marketing strategy, okay? So do yourself a favor, don't send any paid traffic to your website until you can tick these things off that we're going to go through today. As I mentioned last week, we will have a 60-point checklist that we will go through, and in that checklist you can mark yourself as you go, and it's perfect timing for you because if you are doing or if you're planning for your marketing strategy, this is basically your to-do list in terms of your digital marketing. Okay, so this is the framework of what I'll be covering. I briefly mentioned this in my video last week, but the top of the layer over there is all the ways that people are going to find out about your school. It can be Facebook ads, Google AdWords, search engine optimization, and SMS, things like that. And then the middle layer is your school's website, which we'll be going through today. And the bottom layer then is how you engage those people to move from being just a nameless, faceless visitor on your website through to inquiry and then through to an actual enrollment. There's actually for schools marketing, this is what makes schools marketing so unique, is that it's a long follow-up process, and there's a lot of nurturing and re-engaging that needs to happen, and a lot of schools miss out on doing that. So we'll be going through that as well. Okay, so let's get started on your website. Okay, so the first thing that we need to have a successful school's website is that we need to have a strategy that fundamentally enables us to own the platform. And yes, we all have these salespeople that come to us and say, oh, do billboard ads, do magazine ads. They call us a few times a week and harass us to say, you should try this new form of advertising. But if my top recommendation for schools marketing is that you build a strategy where you actually own the platforms that you advertise on. So this looks like, for example, putting a lot of effort into your school's website and redirecting money into other forms of advertising into your website where you can optimize it, make sure it's converting at the right rate, it looks great, it's a fantastic resource. Okay, and this also looks like practically, instead of investing in those digital listings, there's hundreds of listing websites at once, that $2,000 or $3,000 a year for listing on their site. Instead of spending money with them, why not invest in search engine optimization in your own website to get that same traffic directly to your school instead of showing your school amongst hundreds of other schools. Okay, so that's the first recommendation I recommend. Own the platform that you sell on. The next thing that you need, it's the most crucial point that you need for your school website, is it needs to be mobile friendly. And this is called responsive. It means that when you look at your website on a mobile phone, that it's actually fits the screen of the mobile phone. It's easy to read. It's easy to scroll down with one hand. And it's not only needs to be mobile optimized, it needs to be fast on a mobile device. So Google recognizes that most people that are browsing on their phones are perhaps browsing on data, and so your website needs to be really light and data friendly as well. Okay, the next important element that you need to look at for your website is the load speed. Now, school websites can get pretty comprehensive. I've seen a few really clunky ones out there, and that's great, but the most important thing for your website is that it needs to have a really quick load speed. So when you're making decisions like, should I have videos on my homepage, like those header videos that are popular at the moment, how many images should I have? It's really important that you balance that with your load speed. So your images need to be low on data, and I would recommend that you go for load speed under 3 seconds. So anyone that's using search engine optimization software, they would start getting warnings if any of your website pages were loading over 3 seconds. Okay, so keep the content light and simple when you are designing your website. Okay, contact details. Now I know this sounds simple, but We are going to be advertising your school to a range of audiences in the local area, but some people may be traveling to the area, or really the first question on top of parents' minds is, well, where is the school, if they haven't heard of you before. So make that really clear on your website, and try to have that really clear on the homepage of your website. And another point when it comes to contact details is to have your telephone number directly available on the homepage of your website, actually every page of your website. And so that for me means that I like to put the contact details on the top right, because that's the expected place that people are going to start looking when they want to contact and phone you. You want to make it really easy for them. Another thing to do, looking at mobile friendliness, is to have this number a click to call number, so that people don't have to go and copy and paste into their phone dialer. Okay. So another thing to mention when it comes to contact details is that you can actually have, when it comes to advanced tracking, and when you are tracking individuals based on their behavior on your website, you can actually give every unique user a unique telephone number as well, so that you can start taking your tracking and analytics through to the phone number. That's really handy when you have information on website usage, but then you don't really know how that converts offline. Okay. The next thing that you need for your school's website is an opt-in. Okay. And schools will have different opinions on this based on their service offering, their audience, and that's okay. You can either have a download that's available. You can have your prospectus and fees that's available once people give their email address. But the number one mistake I see here is that they have an opt-in. It's for a resource that's not really that valuable to their visitors, and it's not really separating out people whether they're interested in inquiring or if they're current parents and things like that. But then another mistake that I see is that their opt-in is way too detailed. So they'll get to like a landing page with like 20 questions about their child's history and medical history and academic history and interests and things like that. So I recommend a layered approach to this. So have an opt-in that simply asks for the email on that first point of contact, that first time that you're going to gather your inquiries details, and then you can always build on that information later on down the line as they engage with you in your nurturing process. Okay, I always recommend having the opt-in on the homepage. The reason for this is I always design school websites with my enrollment inquiries in mind. I always focus towards enrollment instead of trying to serve all my audiences on the homepage. My homepage is always made for enrollment inquiries, and then I'll have a subdomain for parents that they are then trained to go to that. That kind of just separates it out, cleans out the audiences, and helps you to speak directly to the people that you are trying to connect with and get to submit an inquiry. Okay? And then the last thing that we need is analytics. Analytics is the foundation, another foundation of your marketing strategy. No decision should be made without knowing an evidence-based approach to making decisions. I often see people redesign their whole website without having any base information of what they think would work and what evidence they have to make those decisions. Okay, so just to get started basically with analytics, you'd have to have Google Analytics installed, and then you'd want to get weekly, monthly, live, even daily reports on how many visitors you are getting to your website. Things like what the bounce rate is. You should definitely not have a bounce rate above 40 to 50%. And you should also have information on the number of conversions on your website. So of all those people that visited your website, how many visited the enrollments-based pages and how many people put through in an inquiry. And that is just the foundational analytics that you would want to use to report to your principal and to use for your own information to see. You should see a cycle of continuous improvement as you improve your website. So websites are hard work. Anyone that's redesigned a website or designed a website from scratch knows it's hard work, but the most fundamental thing to know is that it doesn't end with the design of your website. Website work never ends. It's always improving, and there's always a cycle of continuous improvement as you are building on your digital marketing strategy. Okay? So in that checklist, the 60-point checklist that I mentioned, I have some fundamental questions there that you can ask yourself, and you can give yourself a score out of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. You can give yourself, your website, a score out of 10, and if there's any elements that are missing there, it maybe gives you a bit of a checklist of what you can do to improve your school's website. Great, I hope that helps. We'll see you next week. Next week we'll be looking at, I think it's Facebook ads, and we'll be looking at your Facebook ad strategy as a whole. So I hope to see you next week. Thank you.